So, here's our roadmap for today. 1. A reality check of stunted height. 2. The biggest diet mistakes. 3. Enemies killing your hormones. 4. The sleep and dopamine trap. 5. The blow of posture and stress. And 6. The right path to growth.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the reality check of stunted height, and specifically the looks-maxing starvation trap.
Right now, there's this massive trend among teenagers striving for that razor-sharp jawline, hollow cheeks, and shredded abs. And to pull this off, many of you are going into extreme calorie deficits. You are practically starving yourselves during the absolute prime growth years, between 15 and 18. But here is the dark biological science behind doing that. Survival is a necessity for your body. Height growth is a luxury. When you starve yourself, your body panics. It enters survival mode. It takes whatever tiny bit of energy you're giving it and channels it entirely into keeping your vital organs functioning. It completely abandons the luxury process of lengthening your bones. Sure, you might get those abs in 2 months, but your height, it's gonna lock in right where it is. Your growth plates need fuel, guys, not a famine.
Moving on to Section 2, the biggest diet mistakes, or what we call the empty calorie illusion.
A lot of young guys think that just because their stomach feels full, their diet is perfectly fine. Let's say you're taking in 2,000 to 2,500 calories a day. For a huge portion of people, 90% of those calories are just empty carbs and sugar. Only a tiny 10% slice is actual usable nutrition. You're essentially suffering from nutritional blindness. You feel full, yeah, but your skeleton is literally starving on the inside because it's getting absolutely zero fuel for your growth plates.
So, the crucial takeaway here is this. Bone lengthening is a physical construction project. And just like any real construction project, it requires very specific raw materials. We're talking protein, calcium, vitamin D, and zinc. If you aren't hitting these specific macros and micronutrients every single day, your body simply stops the bone lengthening process. I mean, it can't build something out of nothing, right? Shooting in the dark with random calories isn't going to add a single inch to your frame. Okay, Section 3. We're looking at the enemies killing your hormones, invisible endocrine disruptors, and the HGH death match.
You might think eating cheap, microwave junk food out of a plastic container is completely harmless, but you're actually playing a really dangerous game with your endocrine system. Let's define something incredibly important here. Epiphyseal plates. These are the growth plates located at the ends of your bones. Literally, this is where the magic happens. However, cheap plastics and highly processed foods are loaded with phytoestrogens and microplastics. These invisible chemicals throw your testosterone and estrogen levels totally out of whack. And the brutal consequence of that? It causes those epiphyseal plates to fuse shut prematurely. And once those plates fuse and close up, it's game over. No amount of exercise, stretching, or surgery is ever going to make you taller.
But the hormonal assault doesn't stop there. There is a literal biological death match happening inside you right now between insulin spikes from sugar and human growth hormone, or HGH. If you're sipping on cold, sugary drinks, energy drinks, and snacking on sweets all day, you are swinging an axe at your own growth. There's a strict scientific rule you really need to memorize. High insulin and high HGH cannot coexist in your bloodstream. They are biological enemies. The very moment you consume sugar and your insulin spikes, your growth hormone instantly crashes. Just for the sake of a 10-minute sugar rush, you are literally choking out your body's ability to grow. You've got to cut the sugar completely if you actually want to gain inches. Next up, Section 4, the sleep and dopamine trap, and the disconnect that's sabotaging your recovery. We've all heard the advice, right? Just sleep 8 hours to grow tall. Well, that's actually the biggest half-truth out there. Lying in bed for 8 hours means absolutely nothing if your brain is still wired. Picture this. You're lying in bed till 2 a.m., scrolling through shorts and reels, getting hit with a cheap dopamine spike every 15 seconds, just bathing your retinas in blue light. What actually happens? Your physical body might eventually pass out and get some rest, but your brain remains hyperactive. Because of all that digital stimulation, your brain never actually enters delta wave deep sleep. And why is delta wave deep sleep so absolutely crucial? Because without it, your human growth hormone production drops to exactly zero. HGH is almost exclusively released during deep sleep. You could technically sleep for 10 whole hours, but if you didn't reach that deep restorative delta wave state, you produce zero growth hormone. The digital world is literally eating your physical growth. You've got to throw your phone away at least an hour before bed and sleep in total darkness.
That brings us to Section 5, the blow of posture and stress, biomechanical and mental collapse.
Let's start with the mental side of things. Meet your ultimate mental kill switch, cortisol. Today, pretty much everyone is stressed. You're stressed about social media views, texts, comparing your real life to the fake highlight reels of everybody else. This constant overthinking and 24/7 tension floods your bloodstream with cortisol, which is the stress hormone. When your cortisol is high, your brain genuinely thinks you are in imminent physical danger. It throws you straight into a fight or flight survival state. And remember what we learned earlier about survival mode. The body wastes absolutely zero energy on luxury functions like growing taller. The more tense you are, the more stunted your growth becomes. So we're basically attacking our bodies on two fronts at the exact same time. On one side, we have mental compression from all that stress and elevated cortisol. On the other side, we have biomechanical, physical compression. By staring down at your phone all day long, you're developing nerd neck and physically compressing your spine, which makes you look 1 to 2 inches shorter right now. But worse than that is mouth breathing at night. When you breathe through your mouth while sleeping, your brain and body are deprived of the deep oxygen that's necessary for cellular generation and recovery. It fractures your deep sleep, and as we just established, that directly kills your HGH production.
Finally, Section 6, the right path to growth and how to actually reverse this damage.
All right, so here is your daily biological action plan based on our source material. First things first, you need to fix your biomechanics. Start mewing, which just means maintaining proper tongue posture against the roof of your mouth, and strictly practice nasal breathing, especially at night. This restores that deep oxygen flow right to your brain, ensuring you can actually hit deep sleep and release HGH. Second, you must actively decompress your spine multiple times a day to reverse the effects of that downward phone scrolling posture. And mentally, you really need to chill out. Practice grounding, get outside in the sunlight, play some physical sports to release endorphins, and get that cortisol level back to normal so your body actually feels safe enough to grow.
Look, increasing your height is not a magic trick. It's a very precise biological process. The 7 mistakes we went over today are massive brick walls standing squarely in the way of that process. If you don't cut these out right now, starting today, then every exercise or diet tip you try is completely pointless. The handbrake is pulled. So ask yourself, if you could potentially unlock another inch or two just by changing how you breathe, how you sit, and how you sleep, why on earth would you choose to stay exactly where you are?